and nutrition. The law is, I think...
So I'm really sorry, but I just actually want to say one thing here, because I think many people in the community have this Hollywood idea about what it is to die. You know, dying at home means you're in your own bed, beautiful soft pillow, and you close your eyes and turn your head and all your loved ones are around with candles. Really, it is quite a natural death, in inverted commas, whatever that is. If you're 96 years old and you manage to avoid hospital and your organs slowly shut down, you stop eating and drinking and you slowly die. It's not some... When we feel hunger, it's painful. When someone who's dying stops eating and drinking as their organs go quiet, it's not a painful state of active desiring for food and drink. It's, in fact, you would dehydrate to death before you would starve to death. It doesn't take very long, and there are natural bodily processes that take over. And it's
how long does it take, actually, Karen? I mean, is there is there an average?
You can't go without water for more than a few days. I mean, how long can you go without water? Not very long. It just takes a few days, and it's not some terrible, you're lying there like this. I mean, I hear it all the time in the media, people starving and dehydrating to death, and, you know, it even makes me feel scared. There is so much fear out there. There is such a lack of good palliative care training and education, and we need to start there at least before we start going, oh, let's go in for a clean kill. I mean, it's just really, this can get so emotional, and I'm so sick of TV shows because this makes great TV. You never ever see any documentary show running you through a family whose family member is in hospital having an excellent palliative care-led peaceful death. Never would you see that, because it's just boring, isn't it? I mean, what you want is terrible stories of suffering and drama, and they do happen. That's the shame for us, and we need to take responsibility for that and really pick up our game, because the public is really scared, and that's why it's become so emotional and such a big issue, which really, if we had good palliative care, it's not. The euthanasia question is not one question either. It's many things. The situation of somebody with metastatic cancer in the last days of their life in unbearable pain, that's one question, and really that's the only thing that legislation will be made about. Then there's the next question of whether people with neurodegenerative diseases, should they be allowed to have euthanasia? I mean, that's a completely separate question. The first question, I think, is simple, because if there's access to good palliative care, and then the patient's symptoms can be treated. The second issue of any sort of neurodegenerative disease is a completely different issue, and I don't think anyone in Australia is yet saying that people, with early dementia should be allowed to kill themselves. And the third part of euthanasia is when you just feel that your illness is going to go on for years and you're going to be a burden to your family, and you should be able to ask your doctor to kill you. I mean, suicide is a really big issue amongst elderly men and young men, and for some reason, whenever an old person kills himself now, we go, oh, that's why we should have euthanasia. But if a young person kills himself, it's like we're saying, well, obviously the old person would want to kill themselves because their life's not worth living, is it? I mean, as if they can't be feeling despair, worthlessness, pain, fear, loneliness. My view on this issue is not based on religion. I'm atheist. It's not ideological. I am completely far left progressive and am amazed that the progressives are all pro-euthanasia. It just comes from my experience of working in a general medical ward for the last 12 years, looking after the oldest patients, the drug-addicted patients, the dispossessed, the homeless, the most vulnerable people in our community whose lives are extremely painful and who very often feel that life is not worth living and that their life is intolerable, and they come for help, and if they have the option of coming and asking for me to kill them, they will. My job is to say, why do you want to die? What can I do to make your life better or bearable in some way.